Hey there, Brightsider. I've got some refreshing riddles for you. Let's start with a warming-up activity. Your main goal is to answer fast and correctly, of course.
Yeah.
I have cities, but no houses. I have forests, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? Right. I'm a map. What can run but never walks? Has a mouth but never talks, certainly not me. Has a head but never weeps. Has a bed but never sleeps. It's a river. Did you guess it right? What runs all around your backyard, yet never moves? Psst, it's a fence. I'm a box that holds keys without locks, yet my keys can unlock your imagination. What am I? A book. Now I've got a bit tougher brain teaser for you. What TV series is represented by this rebus? Here's a hint. The first, third, and fifth names are there only to fill space. And the answer is Even Stevens. All of the even numbers correspond to some kind of a variation of the name Stephen. Now, which letter comes next in this sequence? You can pick from the following letters: L, V, Y, T, or D. We need the letter Y. The sequence stands for second, minute, hour, day, week, month, and year. A cowboy rode into town on Friday. He stayed for 3 nights and rode out on Friday. How is it possible? His horse's name was Friday. 6 children have been measured. Turns out Weldon is taller than Delia, but shorter than Zena. Leisha is taller than Benito, but shorter than Delia and Weldon. Benito is not the shortest. Can you put the kids in order of height from the tallest to the shortest one? The right order is Zena, Weldon, Delia, Leisha, Benito, and Charlotte. Look at these athletes. Who will win the race? The left shoe of the guy on the right is untied, so he isn't likely to be the first one to get to the finish line. The guy on the left seems to be really exhausted, so he can't be the first one either. Meanwhile, the guy in the middle looks really confident, so he has the highest chance of winning this race. Now get ready for a nice logic puzzle. You've been invited to a party at Charlie's house, but you've never been there before. The guy has 7 friends who live nearby. They've given you a map showing all their houses as well as Charlie's house and provided you with the following information. Daniel: I can't see Benita's house because Greta's house is in the way. Adam: I live directly, but not diagonally, across the street from Daniel. Benita: Elena's house is to the west of my house. Elena: I have to cross 3 streets to arrive at Franco's house. Hal. I live east of Benita. Can you figure out which house is Charlie's? It's House E, and that's where the rest of the friends live. On April Fool's Day, a teenager decided to play a prank on his parents. He replaced salt in 3 out of the 4 salt shakers with sugar and left messages on each of them. Shaker A, this is salt. Shaker B, this is salt. Shaker C, this is sugar. Shaker D, the salt is not in Shaker B. If only one of these inscriptions is true, which shaker contains salt? The only truthful statement is statement D. The salt is not in Shaker B. Otherwise, 2 statements will be true and it's against the rules. And if statement D is true, then the salt is in Shaker C. If Teresa's daughter is my daughter's mother, what am I to Teresa? You can choose from the following options. The correct answer is, I'm Teresa's daughter. You see, in this riddle, you, the reader, are Teresa's daughter. That's what you are to her. How come? Well, if Teresa has a daughter who is also the mother of your daughter, you are Teresa's daughter. Now let's break it down in a different way. Teresa is your daughter's grandmother, which makes Teresa your mother and makes you the daughter of Teresa. The tricky part is the multiple choice answers. You might have tried to figure it out as if you're an additional person to the riddle, when in fact, you're inserted into the riddle from the get-go. If Teresa's daughter, which is you, is my daughter's mother, what am I to Teresa? The answer is already there. A cat is out on a hunt, and a mouse is hiding from the predator. Can you spot the mouse before the cat does? Here it is. Find the number that best completes the following sequence. This number is 16 because each next number adds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 respectively to the preceding number. Let's have a small break and crack some short riddles, but you need to be fast.
Yeah.
I make 2 people out of 1. What am I? A mirror. What comes once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never in 1,000 years? It's the letter M. What's more useful when it's broken? The answer is an egg. What did a computer eat on the moon? Space bars. Oh. Now look at this picture and try to figure out which figure doesn't belong here. It's the triangle. It has only 3 line segments, while the other figures have 4. Another image to examine. Can you deduce which woman is rich? Sarah's watch is fake. Look at the way the name of the brand is written, Versace. Pam's gold bracelet looks very old and has scratches all over it. At the same time, Jessica's wearing a real Tiffany bracelet. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson wanted to celebrate their wedding anniversary. They were going to organize an extravagant party and invite hundreds of guests. But Mrs. Anderson was worried about all the expensive stuff they had in their villa. The couple decided to invite a detective to look after the guests. And indeed, in the middle of the party, the detective noticed a thief. Look at the people gathered in the garden and try to spot the criminal. It's the guy on the left. He's trying to steal a woman's bracelet. One morning, Donna came to the office and found a box of chocolates on her desk. There was a strange note. October 7th, May 3rd, August 1st, January 3rd. Can you help Donna understand who presented her the sweets? Her secret admirer is Ryan. Those are not dates. The numbers actually means the needed letter in the name of the month. Detective Mitchell was following a bank robber, but after the criminal turned the corner, he seemed to vanish into thin air. After wandering around for a while, the detective came across a small park with a lake. Right on the shore, there were several marble statues. The man was about to pass by when something drew his attention. He realized where the criminal was. Can you figure it out? One of the statues is looking at its watch. It's the bank robber. Dennis is taking part in a competition. If his last answer is correct, he'll get a prize, an expensive watch. But first, he needs to figure out which of these two watches is real and which is just a toy. The watch on the left is a toy. Look at its minute hand. It's too long and won't be able to pass all the way around the watch face. Lisa worked as a teaching assistant at a college. One day, she had to look after a group of students who were writing an exam. Lisa knew that some of them were going to cheat. And indeed, soon after the exam started, the girl spotted one person who was cheating. Who was it? The guy in the back of the classroom. He's got the answers written on his arm. Hey, are you ready to test your brain power and see how much of it you actually use? Then, let's start. There once was an evil king who loved himself so much, he'd always carry a pocket mirror to admire his own reflection. He wanted to have the largest and the most expensive castle in the whole world. He made workers build it day and night without a break, so they decided to take revenge on him. Once the castle was ready, the king went in and found himself in a maze. There were 3 doors, and he had to pick one to get out. Behind the first door, there was a hungry monster that could take the life of anyone who looked at it. Behind the second door, there was a shaky bridge over a chasm that was easy to fall into. And the third door opened to a massive fire blocking the way. So, what should the king choose? The king should choose the first door. He can use that mirror he has to reflect the monster's gaze. Voila! The monster is gone, and the king can pass easily. Sandra has just moved into a new apartment, but she's in trouble already. She saw 2 people break into the apartment next door. She knew for sure she had just one neighbor, and he was a circus performer. Sandra called the police, but since none of the men had a key or an ID on them, the police couldn't help much. They decided to figure out which of the men was lying. Can you help them? Although there's plenty of sports gear in the room, the real clue is the flower on the clown's hat. The exact same flowers are growing in the apartment, so he's the real owner. The police found a secret lab with a mad scientist living in it. He was working on a superpower potion that would help him take over the city. Somehow, he managed to escape from the lab, and now the police have to find him to prevent disaster. Do you have any ideas on how to do it? There are some flasks in the trash can. They must be the clue. And he must have left this weird gadget behind. Let's keep on searching. Here are some suspicious footprints. The mad scientist must have left them behind. Do you see him? There he is, hiding behind the car. Neil invited his best friends to his birthday party and ordered a cab for them so they wouldn't have to drive. Everyone had fun, but then it was time to open the gifts, and one of the boxes turned out to be empty. Someone must have stolen it.
Oh no.
Sue said, "I make more money than all of you together. Why would I steal that gift?" Nikki said, "I've just arrived, and you're blaming me for stealing something? Sorry for being late." Mimi explained, "I haven't even seen that blue box with a golden ribbon before. Who's lying here?" Nikki. Everyone arrived in one taxi, so how could he have been late? Liza is a secret agent, and today her mission is to discover some super important papers from a little house in a faraway village. She arrived there, made sure no one was watching, and was about to enter. But there was a combination lock on the door. Luckily, there was a note nearby. Can you help Liza figure out the code using the note? You have to count how many logs there are in each section of the house. The note has the order in which the numbers must be placed. So the code is 7834. Nick has just arrived home after a weekend at the polo club with his friends. Yikes! He just saw a burglar running out of his house. Nick tried to follow the stranger, but he was way faster, so Nick couldn't catch him. But he noticed the burglar was running towards the construction site nearby. He must be pretending to be a construction worker. Which of these guys is an imposter? Look, this guy is trying to saw through a beam. The guy on top will fall if he succeeds here. He must be the burglar. This family only seems normal. The dad is a real superhero. He can travel in time, he can fly, has super hearing, and always knows when someone is lying. It's cool, but not for his son. He has really bad grades at school and was grounded for the holidays. The boy really wants to go to his best friend's birthday party. How can he escape? He can tell his dad he has to be at school today. He can lock himself in and escape through the window. He can run away quietly while his dad is watching TV. His dad will know when the boy is lying, and his super hearing will help him notice if his son is trying to run away. So, the only way out is through the window. Someone stole a famous masterpiece from an art gallery. 3 people were inside at the time of the crime: the head of the gallery, a maintenance person, and a visitor. The head of the gallery told the police, "I was in my office signing papers." The maintenance person said, I was cleaning on the second floor and haven't noticed anything suspicious. The visitor said, I was in the modern art hall and was looking at exhibits. The police immediately guessed who was lying. Can you do the same? It was the maintenance person. The gallery doesn't have a second floor. In a big company, an important contract went missing. 3 employees became the prime suspects: the manager, the secretary, and the analyst. Here's what they had to say. The manager said, I was busy at meetings with clients all day. The secretary insisted, I was filing mail in the archive. The analyst claimed, I was analyzing reports from the last quarter. The police quickly figured out who was lying. So, who stole the document and how did they know? It was the secretary. The company only updates the archive on Fridays, but this happened on a Wednesday. Busted! Someone tried to hack the security system of a top-secret research base. The base is really well-equipped, with self-updating software and all the latest tech. 3 team members fell under suspicion: the engineer, the guard, and the programmer. The engineer said, I was checking the base's power supply, and everything was fine. The guard told the police, I was patrolling the area, and everything was quiet. The programmer explained, I was updating the system software. The police immediately knew who tried to hack the system. Can you guess who it was and how they figured it out? It was the programmer. The system updates automatically and doesn't need any help with it. An experimental chemistry kit went missing at school, and there were 3 main suspects: the chemistry teacher, a student, and the school principal. Here's what they said. The teacher: I was prepping for class. The student: I was reading a book in the library. Principal: I was reviewing documents about new supplies. The police immediately knew who was lying. So, who swiped the kit and how did they figure it out? It was the student. The library was closed for inventory on the day of the incident, so there's no way they could have been there. You've got 3 boxes, 1 with just apples, 1 with just oranges, and 1 with a mix of both. The problem is that all the labels are wrong. How can you fix the labels by pulling out just one fruit? Think it over. So here's the trick. Grab a fruit from the box labeled mixed. Since all the labels are wrong, this box actually has either just apples or just oranges. Let's say you pull out an apple. It would mean that this box is actually the just apples box. Now you've got 2 boxes left. The one labeled oranges can't just be oranges because it's mislabeled. And it can't be just apples because you've already found the apple box. So it must be the mixed box. It means the last box, which was labeled apples, must be the just oranges box. And there you go. You've sorted out all the boxes.
Mary works as a manager at the local circus. Her task is to prepare their new location for future performances. She arrives at the spot, takes a look at the stage, and freaks out. Why? Take a closer look at the sign. It says citrus, when it should say circus. Oh my. Jerry and Michael went out for a boat ride and got into a bit of trouble. Both of their boats are slowly sinking. Which boat do you think will sink first? The first boat has 2 holes in it, but somehow it has way less water in it. The second boat only has 1 hole, but look at the amount of water that got inside. It's definitely the second boat that's gonna sink first. Eric and his friend Brenda are meeting for coffee. Eric is excited to meet her because he knows Brenda has a secret to tell him. Brenda has a new crush, but she won't reveal his name. Eric asked her to write a clue for him on a piece of paper, and she wrote the following code: 12, 8, 11. Can you figure out her crush's name? The numbers imply 3 months: December, August, and November. If we take the first letters of each month, we'll get the name Dan. Mandy, an off-duty private investigator, went to have lunch at her favorite cafe. There she saw 3 people that called her attention. She quickly noticed that one of them had probably been poisoned. Take a look at the image. Can you tell who it was? The third guy didn't even touch his cappuccino. He must be just sleeping. The second lady is awake. She has some cappuccino mustache, nothing criminal. But take a look at the first guy. He's wearing glasses, so we can't say for sure whether he's awake or not. Meanwhile, his phone is ringing off the hook in his pocket, and he shows no reaction at all. That's suspicious. Shelly and Bernie are best friends. Bernie decides to save some money to get her a very good present this year. On the first day of the month, he puts $1 in his piggy bank. On the second, he puts in $2. On the third day, $3, and so on. Yay! Shelly's birthday has finally arrived, and Bernie has saved a total of $276 in his piggy bank. Can you guess the exact day of the month when Shelly was born? Shelly's birthday is on the 23rd day of the month. The easiest way to crack this riddle would be to simply add the numbers until we get 276. Mandy and Oliver have a thing for abandoned mansions that look haunted. So on a Friday night, they went to visit one. The house was falling apart and they could hear a cry coming from it. Mandy decided to enter through the main door, while Oliver went straight to the basement. Take a look at the image. Who's in greater danger? It's Oliver. If the house decided to crumble right that instant, it would definitely hurt Oliver. Yikes! On her 6th birthday, Camilla got 3 new dolls as gifts. But during her first night with the dolls, she ran into her parents' room crying and scared, saying one of the dolls was alive. Take a look at them. Can you guess which one? Let's see. The first doll has glowing eyes, but that's just a fun feature. You can see her clothes also have the same thing. The second doll looks normal. But the third doll has wrinkly skin and her face has changed since Camilla first saw her. That's the one. It was Jenny's first day at her new job. Since she had so much to do, she only went down to the cafeteria to eat lunch very late in the afternoon. By that time, there weren't many options left. Take a look at the picture. What's Jenny's safest choice? Let's see. That burger looks nice, but there's a lipstick stain on the bun, so that's a no. The apple pie is steaming, but it looks like it's been microwaved dozens of times, and it's about to go bad. Her safest choice is probably the frozen pizza. They defrost it on the spot. Hey, at least like this, she won't get food poisoning. It's lunchtime and Becca goes to the fridge to grab the sandwich she brought from home. But when she opens the fridge, she notices that her food is missing. Someone probably ate her burrito. She decides to conduct a quick investigation to see who stole her lunch. Her boss ordered some expensive takeout from a new restaurant in town. Joe, her colleague, is highly allergic to gluten, so he ate something he brought from home as well. Helen, the supervisor, ate a delicious salad bowl from the cafeteria. Take a look at the picture. Can you guess who stole Becca's lunch? It was Joe. His hands are all swollen. He probably ate the burrito even though he's allergic to gluten. Yikes! Lucy was wandering through a forest when she stumbled upon a magical portal. Suddenly, she found herself in a mystical realm. There, she came across 3 talking animals: a fox, a raccoon, and a rabbit. One of them had swiped her magic amulet, which she needed to get back to her world. You know for a fact that the thief always lies, while the others tell the truth. The fox said that he didn't do it. The raccoon said it was the rabbit, but the rabbit denied taking the amulet. Can you help Lucy figure out which animal took her amulet? The rabbit is the culprit. The fox was telling the truth when he said he didn't do it. The raccoon pointed to the real thief. And the rabbit lied when he denied it. It's the rabbit. Sam was traveling through Italy and decided to treat himself to a fancy dinner at a swanky restaurant. While he was halfway through his meal, an old man came up to him. The guy said Sam looked just like his son and asked for a favor. He hadn't seen his son in years, so he asked Sam to say, "Good night, Dad," when he left the restaurant. Sam thought it was a bit weird, but agreed. A little later, he got the shock of his life. Can you guess what happened? Sam got stuck with the old man's bill. The old man had told the waiter to hand the bill to his son. Oh no, can't believe he fell for that. Harry is an events producer. His stomach starts to growl after so much hard work, so he goes to look for some food. He walks into a store where 2 chefs are baking cakes, but here's the catch. Only one is safe to eat. Take a look at both of these delicious-looking cakes. Which one is safe? If you have a sharp eye, you'll know that the chef on the left is a fake, so you shouldn't eat his cake. The left chef has stains all over his shirt that look like blood. Plus, he doesn't have a badge on his shirt. He has a scratch over his eye, and he's hiding a syringe in his hand behind his back. There are just too many red flags here. Harry should go for the cake on the right. Mia is traveling, and she just arrived in a new city. Most of the hotels were booked since it was summertime, so she only found available rooms in an old house. There were 3 rooms for her to choose from. Take a look at the picture. Which one should she pick? Well, so you see the hidden scorpions behind the curtains in the first room? That's a big no-no. As for the third room, notice how the AC is set to cold, even though it's snowing outside. Note of that. So, she should definitely pick the second room. It looks pretty clean. Hey! Are you ready for a quick IQ check? Then welcome on board. Lucas wants to go to the circus, but he can't because his grades are bad. He's challenged by two clowns to solve a riddle for free entry. This riddle goes like this. What is as big as an elephant but weighs nothing? The correct answer is the elephant's shadow. A shadow can be as large as the object casting it, yet it has no weight. A wealthy singer, Robert Mars, was attacked in a luxury hotel room. The detective invited to investigate this case questions several suspects. The hotel chef claims that he was cooking a special dish for Robert when the accident happened. The bellhop says he was busy with luggage because many new guests arrived at once. And the maid states that she cleaned Robert's room in the morning, and at that time, everything was fine. Have you guessed who's behind the attack? The bellhop is hiding something. Have you noticed that he had Robert's suitcases? There was a tag on one of the bags. Doesn't it seem weird to you? It's definitely suspicious. Judges noticed that robots were competing instead of humans in a sports competition. Help them identify the robots among the athletes. Have a look. This athlete has visible gears in her head. She's adjusting her leg with a screwdriver. This one is wearing a mask. She must be hiding robotic features. A mad scientist caught Diana and locked her in a small room. There were no windows and the door was locked. But there was a note on the table. It was from the scientist. JFMAM. JASOND. Guess the missing letter and I'll set you free. 5 minutes later, Diana was already running away from the strange place. She managed to figure out that the missing letter was J. How did she do it? Those were the first letters of the month from January to December, and the sixth letter, J, stood for June. Criminals who have just escaped from jail have stolen important blueprints from Mark's lab. Now, they need to escape through one of three places: a police station, a room where a birthday party is taking place, or a bank during peak hours. Which option is the best? The birthday party. The thieves in their orange jumpsuits would blend in best since their bright costumes are quite common at such gatherings. They'll likely seem less suspicious there. Look at these people attentively. Can you figure out who's not from Earth? It must be the guy on the right. The guy on the left must be wearing a Halloween costume. But look at his blue eyes. They seem to be absolutely human. Now look at the eyes of the guy on the right. Those narrow black slits. Ugh, creepy. How about this image? Can you spot anyone who doesn't look like us Earthlings? It's that lady on the left. Have you noticed a couple of extra eyes hiding in her hair? These Formula One drivers are about to take part in a race. Which of them is from another planet? That guy over there, he's leaving a trail of slime behind. A man sitting in a car sees 3 doors, a bronze door, a silver door, and a golden door. Which door should he open first? Surely, he needs to open his car door first. Look at this man and 3 women attentively. Can you figure out which of them is his real wife? It must be the girl on the left. Look, unlike the other 2 girls, she has nothing in her hands. At the same time, the man is holding a purse, which, to be honest, isn't his style at all. Why did they kick Cinderella out of the football team? To crack this riddle, you need to think outside the box. Because she ran away from the ball. Haha, gotcha. Matthew reported seeing a vampire on his street. The detective came to investigate 3 new neighbors. Kevin had just moved there after divorcing his wife. Sam bought a house in the neighborhood after earning a lot of money. And Barley moved there to escape the hustle and bustle of city life. Have you guessed which of them is the vampire? It's Kevin. You see, Sam is talking to the detective outside in the sun, and Barley has a mirror in his house. Vampires can do neither of these things. It makes Kevin suspect number 1. Raphael, an agent, must disable the alarm on an alien ship by pressing 4 correct buttons simultaneously. Can you help him figure out which buttons to press? The buttons with slightly worn symbols are the ones used most frequently. I'm nothing more than holes tied to other holes. At the same time, I'm as strong as steel, but not as stiff as a pole. What am I? I'm a chain. I have an eye, but I can't see. I have no limbs, but I'm still faster and stronger than any man alive. Who am I? I'm a hurricane. At around 8 p.m., Melissa was walking in the park. Suddenly, she saw a guy lying on the ground. His bike was nearby, in the bushes. Melissa helped him sit up, and he told her that he'd been cycling through the park when someone had thrown something at him. He fell down and blacked out. Melissa had 4 suspects. Hannah said she'd been on a morning run and hadn't seen anything. Ryan said he'd taken his dog for a walk and they'd been in another part of the park. And Michael and Laura said they'd come to have a picnic and had been busy with the food. Do you know who's lying? Hannah. It's evening. How could she have her morning run? One guy was going to an amusement park. At one point, he arrived at a crossroads. There was a sign. Blueville, right. Amusement park, left. The guy stood there for a while, and then, terribly upset, he went home. Why? He thought the amusement park had really left. Once a powerful magician arrived at a small town. His visit caused strange occurrences. Can you find all the oddities in these scenes? Okay, let's start with those crosswalk lines. They're painted incorrectly. Then, a disembodied hand over there is writing by itself. Ugh, creepy. Oh look, a zombie is crawling out of the maintenance hole. Chef George lost his favorite knife just before the cafe was to open. George suspected his neighbors. Damien, the owner of a dry cleaner, and Alan, a toy store owner. Can you figure out who the thief is? Damien is the thief. Have you noticed George's knife in one of the washing machines in Damien's dry cleaner? It might be an attempt to sabotage the cafe opening. Billy brings some of his mom's jewelry to school. Sam, a feared bully, steals this jewelry and hides it like a pirate treasure. Luckily, Billy finds a map in Sam's bag. The instruction says, make 15 steps south and 5 steps east to find the treasure. But even though Billy follows the instructions to a T, he can't find the jewelry. Why? It's simple. Billy misjudged his step size. His steps are smaller than Sam's due to their height difference, so Billy dug in the wrong spot. But if he adjusts the step size, he will definitely find the treasure. Police officer Cheryl Adams was walking along the river, taking some pictures she needed for her case, when a man crashed into her. The man started to apologize. Someone had stolen his wallet and he was trying to catch the thief. He explained that he was painting his boat and his wallet was next to him. Then he got distracted and when he turned back, the wallet wasn't there anymore. Cheryl understood that the thief couldn't have gone far. They ran to the nearby pier. There were 4 people there. After looking at them attentively, the police officer knew who the thief was. Now, it's your turn to figure it out. It's the man who's talking on the phone. There's some green paint on his left pant leg. Ava got into a serious accident during the weekend. She got a concussion and broke her leg. Still, the very next day, one of her friends saw her riding a bicycle in the park, and she looked fine. How is that possible? Look, the girl who got into the car accident has a tattoo on her ankle. The girl on the bike doesn't. The girl who was riding the bike was Ava's twin sister, Malva. A doctor rushed into the emergency room and saw there were 2 patients waiting for urgent treatment. The man on the left was a tech millionaire and the lady on the right was a grandmother to 5 children. He needed to think fast who he would save. Who should he choose? He should choose the grandmother. The man on the left has a phone next to him. He could call someone else for help. 3 scientists went to research in the Amazon forest. Bianca had some trouble with the harsh weather, but felt it was worth it in the end. Pablo had a great time photographing the wildlife for his social media page, and Helena got to study a rare species of carnivorous plant. On the last day of their trip, passing through airport security, one of them got caught trying to take something in their backpack. Take a look at the picture. Can you tell who it was? Well, it's illegal to take seeds and plants with you, and Helena had a carnivorous plant in her backpack. Yikes! Mia went to Rome for summer vacation. She was wandering through the streets when she saw an artist's easel was knocked over. He said he had stepped away for 1 second and the tragedy happened. Mia decided to help him solve the case and interviewed a few people. Marco said that he'd been taking photos nearby. Harry said he'd been juggling for a big crowd a few meters away. Josie said that she'd come by just to buy a painting from the artist. And Leo said he had been enjoying gelato at a cafe nearby. Can you help Mia figure this one out? Well, look at Harry's backpack. There are some art supplies sticking out of it. He must have created a distraction to steal it. Yikes! Barbara invited her colleague Sabrina for lunch at her place. Sabrina was surprised she thought Barbara didn't like her. But Barbara went all in for their lunch. She even cooked delicious tuna. She split the fish in half and each of the ladies ate their portion. A few hours after lunch, Sabrina ended up in the hospital with severe food poisoning. After a thorough investigation, the police popped over at Barbara's house and arrested her. But how was this possible? Take a look at the knife Barbara used to prepare the meal. It had a bit of poison on one side. Certainly the side that she gave Barbara to eat. Oh my. You meet a friend for coffee, and she says she will only spill the tea on her latest secret if you can guess her riddle. She says, 5 costs $25, 25 costs $50. If you buy 255, you pay $75. What is it that you're buying, and how much does one item cost? You're buying door numbers, and each number costs $25. It took a decade for Professor Evans' archaeological mission to find a priceless artifact. The professor stored it safely in a vault. The team celebrated the win with a bonfire and went to sleep. The next morning, the artifact was gone. Professor Evans decided to investigate the robbery herself. Jack said he spent the last 2 hours cataloging the pottery they had found earlier. Olivia claimed she spent the last few hours in the rest area getting some sleep. Mark mentioned he'd been repairing the digger all morning. Professor Evans immediately figured out who took the artifact. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. He claimed he spent the entire morning fixing the digger. But take a look at his hands. They should be dirty from the repairs. A car crashed into a restaurant window and drove straight inside. The owner was horrified and called the cops to investigate. There were 2 main suspects, Julia and Bernard. Each of them claims it was the other person who is the culprit. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who's lying? It's Julia. If you pay attention to the tire tracks, you'll see that they're the same pattern as Julia's tires. She's the one who did it. Take a look at this picture. Can you guess who is more reckless? Let's see. On the first pic, we see a little kid on the beach playing near the water. His super muscular dad is in the background talking to a couple of women. In the second pic, the little kid is playing catch with a not-so-friendly dog. But hey, his dad in the background is paying close attention. It's safe to say the dad on the first pic is more reckless. You are in Greece, exploring some of the country's ancient ruins. You get lost from your group and find the entrance to a hidden cave. You come across a mysterious chamber with 4 massive doors, each with a unique symbol. Beside it, there is an ancient scroll. When you open it, you find a message that tells you to trust that your mind knows the fleeting nature of time. The first door carries the symbol of a shield. The second door has a crown. The third door features a pair of wings, and the fourth door has an hourglass on it. Which door will lead you to the treasure? The fourth door, the one with the hourglass. The clue was in the last phrase, the fleeting nature of time. It's the hourglass. You walk into a diner and there are two very suspicious clients indoors. And one of them is actually a criminal. Who is it? Let's have a look. The first guy looks suspicious, especially since he's holding a defensive device. The second girl looks more innocent. She's just sitting holding a knife and cutting her salad with it. But hey, she's the guilty one. That huge knife is too big for cutting a salad, and it's got a red stain on it. Sarah was invited for a brunch with her new colleagues from work. She recently started working at a tech company. She arrived at the restaurant but didn't see any of her colleagues. Instead, she saw a weird-looking robot. How could she tell that it was really a robot? I know it looks like a person, but hey, look at her wrists. She has USB entrances on both of them. It must have been one of the pranks her colleagues decided to play on her. Maeve quit her job and decided to travel the world. Her first destination was Paris. She didn't know anything or anyone over there, so she arrived and looked for the first hostel she could find. But, oh no, she really shouldn't go inside this place. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out why? This hostel is haunted. There's the shadow of a ghost on the top window. I definitely wouldn't go in. One late summer evening, a thief broke into a renowned artist studio and stole a rare painting. He didn't manage to get too far though, because a security patrol passed by while he was escaping. The thief stashed the painting under a thick bush and hid behind a nearby wall. The artist was quick to notice they had been stolen and called Detective Summer for help. The detective soon gathered two suspects. Take a look at the picture. Which guy did it? If you crawl through a bush with bare arms, they will most likely get scratched. Take a look at that second guy's arms. They're covered in scratches. He must be the culprit. Hey Brightside detectives, we really need your help here. These riddles are to be solved as fast as possible. Look at these two people. Both of them seem to be in grave danger, but only one of them is actually risking his life. Which person is it? The gentleman with the cane is out of danger. He'll figure out that the edge of the cliff is ahead with the help of his cane. As for the man engrossed in his smartphone, he might not notice the edge of the cliff and fall down. While swimming near the shore, Mark has come across three young ladies. What the guy doesn't know is that only one of these women is not a mermaid. How can he understand who is who? Well, the answer is quite obvious. The guy should dive and check which one of the girls has legs and which two are sporting tails. Look at these two doctors attentively. Only one of them is a real vet. Which doc is it? The real vet is wearing gloves. Each of these 3 prisoners is hoping to escape one day, but one of them might do it in the near future. Which one is it? The guy who's peacefully reading a book must be planning an escape. Do you see that poster on the wall? It's likely covering a hole. Look at the ground right beneath it. There's some sand from drilling. Maria got lost in an enchanted castle. While looking for a way out, she entered a room filled with similarly dressed gentlemen. They were all cheering for the king. Oh, maybe he could help Maria get out of the castle. But how can the girl figure out which of these men is the king? The king is the man on the right, sitting next to Maria. He's the only one who's looking out the window while everyone else is looking at him. In search of a treasure, you come to this crossroads. Which direction should you pick to find the treasure? The answer is actually carved on the stone. Turn the inscription upside down, and it'll say South. David woke up in a hospital with no memories whatsoever. Soon, 3 girls rushed into his room. Each of them claimed to be his only sister. Can you help David figure out which of these ladies is telling the truth? David's real sister is the girl in the middle. Look, they both have identical birthmarks on their hands. Michael was diving when he realized he was about to run out of oxygen. He saw 2 caves nearby. Which cave should he choose to have a chance to survive? He should opt for the left cave. Have you noticed those bubbles of air coming out of it? It means there must be some dry land inside the cave. An elderly lady called the police to report that her neighbor, a young woman called Gina, seemed to have disappeared. The woman hadn't seen her for a few days and got worried. When the police arrived at Gina's house, they managed to unlock the door and found Gina inside, tied to a chair with her mouth covered with a scarf. When she could talk again, she told the police that 3 days ago, a robber had broken into her house, tied her, and taken all her money and gadgets. The police officers didn't believe Gina. Why? Look at the date on the calendar, over there on the wall. See? It's the same date as the one on the calendar at the police station. But if Gina was tied all this time, who was changing the dates on her calendar? 3 friends, Kathy, Mark, and Lauren, gathered together to catch up on their latest news at Lauren's place. At one point, they decided to play hide and seek. When it was Lauren's turn to look for her friends, she easily found Mark. But even with his help, she couldn't spot Kathy. Can you help Lauren find her friend? Kathy took her task seriously. Look, she's hiding in a trash can. Megan invited her friends to a restaurant to celebrate her birthday. They had a lot of fun. Megan got the best birthday present ever, a ring with a large diamond. But suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. After several minutes of total confusion, the lights came back on. But Megan's ring was gone. Look at the image attentively and try to figure out who stole it. It's the waiter. Look at the glass he's holding. He must have put the ring inside. Now there's much more water in it. It's the year 2158. Jim is repairing the roof of his garage. At one point, he slips and falls to the ground and breaks his leg. But the next day, Jim is already walking in the park, looking perfectly fine. How is it possible? Jim is a robot. See that red light blinking over his left ear? They must have repaired him really fast. Marta was walking through the park near her home in the evening. It was dark and there was nobody around. Suddenly, her bag was grabbed from behind and the person bolted away. Marta took off after them. She was pretty sure this person was a woman, but she couldn't make out her appearance or clothes. The woman disappeared inside a school building. When Marta ran inside, she saw 3 teachers. The girl looked at them attentively and soon figured out which one had taken her bag. Can you do the same? The woman in the middle wouldn't be able to run with the cast on her leg. The one on the right doesn't have anything in her hands. Where would she hide Marta's bag so quickly? But the woman on the left has a big shopper bag on her shoulder. A real teacher wouldn't need to carry it in the classroom. A wealthy businessman was kidnapped right from his house. The detective who arrived to investigate the case found nothing strange inside, but a mysterious note with a strange set of symbols written on it. There are 3 suspects: Eric, Ellie, and Colin. Can you help the detective identify the criminal? The culprit is Ellie. Her name is the one coded in the note. Susan worked in a clothing store that sold expensive designer items. One day, she discovered that someone had stolen a pair of pants. Look at the people who were inside at that time. Try to figure out who the thief is. It's the guy on the right. If you look attentively at his legs, you'll see the pants peeping out from under his jeans. Newlyweds Maria and Daniel went to a tropical island on their honeymoon. They stayed at a luxurious hotel. But one day, when they returned from dinner, they found out that someone had broken into their safe and stolen Maria's jewelry. There were several suspects: a maid, Maria and Daniel's neighbors, and the hotel manager. But the maid claimed that she hadn't cleaned any rooms on the newlyweds' floor at all that day. The neighbors said that they had been on an excursion all day and had just returned. And the hotel manager stated that he had several important meetings with clients and hadn't left his office. Can you figure out who the thief is really quick? The neighbors stole the jewelry. Have you noticed a bolt cutter in their bag? Why would they need it on an excursion? David worked at a construction site. Once, someone attacked him, and the unconscious man was taken to a hospital. Police officers who arrived to investigate the case had 3 suspects: Alex, Ryan, and John. Alex said that he had been putting tiles on the roof when the accident happened. Ryan confessed that he'd been sleeping under a tree. And John claimed that he'd been laying bricks at that time. Who's lying? Alex was the one to hurt David. The building has no roof yet, so he couldn't be putting tiles up there. I've got a bunch of new riddles for you, oh great detective. Concentrate and crack them all like nuts. Look at this picture very attentively. One of these people attacked the artist, but can you figure out who it was? The artist started writing the letter K and then another letter, but he didn't have time to finish it. It seems to be an I, so the culprit could be Kitty. But at the same time, it also looks as if the artist simply didn't have time to finish the letter L, which is another letter that can be confused with I. So, if the injured man tried to write the lower part of the letter L but didn't have enough time to finish it, it could easily be Claude, who attacked him. What do you think? Was it Claude or Kitty? Write your answer in the comments. These people seem to be rather strange, but only one of them is a real vampire. Who is it? All of them are drinking something red, but it might be just some pomegranate juice. The girl on the left has a blood red streak next to her mouth, but it might just be smudged lipstick. The man has weird teeth, but they could be artificial. As for the woman on the right, she must be the vampire. Have you noticed that she doesn't have a reflection in the mirror? This couple is about to get married. What a happy event. But not everything is rainbows and butterflies here. One of the people in the picture is actually an alien. Have you spotted this guest from another planet? It's the bride herself. Look, she's got 3 arms. Continuing with the topic of extraterrestrial visitors, you need to find an alien among these athletes. Can you spot anything unusual about them? The guy on the left must be an alien. He's got 2 left hands. Yikes. Creepy. Now this guy seems to be lost and confused. There are 2 doors in front of him, and both ladies seem friendly. But one of the doors isn't safe to enter. Which one is it? It's the door on the left. This glamorous lady is offering the guy a ride, but do you see that strange decor in her apartment? Especially the skull? At the same time, the second woman looks quite disheveled. But despite her messy appearance, offering food might just be a kind gesture. In any case, a ride with a stranger holds more risk than a simple hamburger. Look at these bathrooms very attentively. Your task is to figure out which of them belongs to a zombie. Well, both bathrooms look kinda disgusting, but a real zombie leaves on the left. Do you see that glass standing on the sink in the left room? The zombie keeps his fingers there. Ugh. We've got 3 Miss School contestants here. They look pretty and all, but one of them is actually dangerous. Which one is it? It's the girl in the pink dress. There's blood on her crown. Another day, another monster. Look at these people attentively and try to figure out which of them is a werewolf. The man on the left is just wearing a mask. It's quite obvious. The lady in the middle might have had some kind of an accident, hence the bizarre blue spots on her body. But the man on the right is literally covered with fur, which he is trying to hide with his clothes, but his true nature can still be spotted. A crazy scientist captured Mark and locked him in his lab to use the guy for his experiments. Luckily, the guy managed to get out of the lab, taking along 3 pills. Each of them worked for 10 seconds. The green pill could provide him with regeneration abilities, The red pill could allow him to become invisible, and the blue pill provided him with the ability to fly. To get out of there, Mark had to pass through 3 rooms. One was guarded by a vampire, the second one was protected by a werewolf, and the third one hosted a maniac with a chainsaw. Which pill should Mark take to pass through each room? Mark needs to take the invisibility pill to get past the vampire, the pill enabling him to fly to get past the werewolf, and the regeneration pill to escape the chainsaw. Simon was stuck at a gas station 50 miles away from the city. His car was broken and could be repaired only by the end of the day. Luckily, there were 3 drivers who were ready to offer him a ride to the city. Look at these people and try to understand which car is safe. The driver in the red car is actually a criminal. The police have been looking for the vehicle he's driving. It must have been stolen. The man in the yellow car must be a criminal too, since he is depicted on the wanted poster on the wall. Only that granny in the blue car is safe to ride with. Maria Walker, a rich businesswoman, collected ancient pieces of art. One day, she managed to buy a priceless Chinese figurine. Maria locked it in a safe in her office and went home. But the next morning, the figurine was gone. Police have 3 suspects, all of them Miss Walker's subordinates. The detective asked each of them if they'd taken the figurine from the safe. Beverly said she hadn't been to the office since Monday. Ralph said that he didn't even know how to open safes and wasn't interested in Chinese art. And Vincent admitted that he'd been to Miss Walker's office after her departure, but he only took some documents he needed. Have you understood who the thief was? It was Ralph. Otherwise, how would he know the figurine was Chinese? Mary was a college teacher. It was the beginning of a new school year and 3 new students joined the class. When Mary saw them, she immediately realized something was off about one of them. What did she notice? The guy in the middle doesn't have a shadow. Logan worked as a security officer on a small cruise ship. One day, during a severe storm, he found Mr. Lewis lying on the deck. When the man came to his senses, he said someone had hit him on the head and had taken his wallet. Logan had 3 suspects. He visited them in their cabins. Linda told him she was feeling queasy because of seasickness. She couldn't even get up from her bed. Denise said she'd been watching a movie on her smartphone. And Philip said he'd been writing a letter to his wife. Logan immediately understood who had hit Mr. Lewis. Do you know? It was Philip. Look at his letter. The handwriting is immaculate. But it's impossible to write so accurately during a storm. Look at these elderly ladies. Both of them have gone out for a walk. At first glance, they seem totally normal. But one of them is actually planning something bad. Can you figure out which granny it is? It's the granny on the right. She's got a file hidden in her knitting basket. Look at this explorer. He seems to be in a tough situation. There are 4 tunnels in front of him. The first one seems to be freezing cold, with some perilous-looking icicles hanging over the entrance. The second tunnel looks outright creepy. A giant shark is in the third tunnel, and the 4th pass is covered with molten lava. Where should our explorer go? he should opt for the first tunnel. Have you noticed a rather well-trodden track there? So this way can't be too dangerous. Kenneth was hungry. He found a nice diner that served burgers and bought one. After a waiter brought him his order, Kenneth went to the bathroom to wash his hands. But when he came back, his burger was gone. The guy looked around the diner and understood who had taken his lunch. Can you figure it out? It's this young woman. A dog is sitting at her feet and sniffing the air. If she was just drinking coffee, which is what she's pretending to do, the dog wouldn't be so interested in her.
So, our guy James here had passed all the first stages of the entrance exam for the Superhero Training Academy. For the final stage, the committee was going to test if he was able to determine who to save first in urgent situations. So they showed him a few images and wanted him to decide who was really in danger. Can you help him out? Here are the first two. In the second image, the train is not moving and the lights are not on. That means the man can cross without any danger. As for the woman taking a bath and trying to dry her hair, well, it's not wise to use electrical stuff in the bathtub, so James should save her first. Now take a look at this footage of two people falling from a cliff. Can you help James detect who is in real danger here? The guy holding the umbrella might appear to be falling faster than the guy holding the plastic bag. However, he's going to fall right into the water, whereas there is a sharp rock right below the plastic bag guy. So, in a situation like this, James should save him first. The last image was going to determine whether James would be accepted or not. Who should be saved first? The lady absorbed in her phone in the second image is safe, because even though the traffic looks busy, the lights show a clear walk signal and cars are stopped. But the man in the first image has left a metal spoon in the microwave that he's about to turn on. That's a big no-no. James finally got accepted into Superhero Training Academy. But there, he was not going to use his real name. He needed to pick a superhero name for himself. Can you guess what his name is? These emojis might help. His superhero name is Thunderbolt Titan. Ooh. It was time to graduate. At the ceremony, the headmaster of the academy wanted to reward Thunderbolt Titan for finishing first in his class. He presented him with a mysterious chest containing a puzzle. Inside awaited a new suit, a cloak, and a high-tech gadget, but only if Thunderbolt Titan could crack the code. Can you help him solve the puzzle and claim his rewards? Look at the number sequence. What comes next? The correct answer is 7238. You just have to move the last number to the front. One day when Thunderbolt Titan was at home, somebody slid a note under his door. But it was encrypted with a strange number sequence. And below the numbers, there was a hint. Think about your device. Can you help decode the mysterious message? To decode this number sequence, we use a mobile phone keypad, as the hint suggests, where each number pair represents a letter. The first digit indicates the keypad number, and the second digit selects the letter's position on that key. For instance, 42 translates to H because 4 corresponds to the GHI button, and pressing on it 2 times will give you H. Following this method, the fully decoded message is "Help now." A villain from the multiverse had brought all kinds of creatures to planet Earth, and the Protectors League needed Thunderbolt Titan's help to find and capture them before they unleashed chaos. The first monster they were searching for was a zombie, and the Protectors League had 3 suspects. Take a look at them and help Thunderbolt Titan successfully complete his first mission. The first person looks all dirty, but she was probably working in the garden. The second lady's grocery bag is leaking juice, not blood. So the third person must be the zombie, because the living don't wear hospital tags on their ankles. The second creature the Protectors League was searching for was an extraterrestrial being. Take a look at their 2 suspects. Who is the one hiding from the League? Look at Gary M's hospital patient chart. It says his fever is 24.5 degrees Celsius. A human can't have such a low body temperature. He must be the creature. Lastly, the League suspected that a robot was pretending to be a human at a college campus. They spotted 3 students who were acting suspiciously. Can you help Thunderbolt Titan figure out who the robot is? You might think it's obvious that the third student is a robot, but he only has a super realistic-looking robot tattoo on his arm. The first student has a blinking red light inside his shirt's pocket, but that's just a camera. On the other hand, the second student has a USB port on one of her fingers. She must be the robot. To the Protectors League's surprise, there was a 4th monster who had escaped their attention. And at the headquarters, they got an emergency alarm that it was creating mayhem at the amusement park. Thunderbolt Titan immediately rushed there. Upon arrival, he found that the creature's actions had led to a malfunction on the roller coaster ride, causing 3 passengers to be stranded dangerously. Which one should Thunderbolt Titan save first? The second guy will fall first because he's only holding on with one hand, which is actually pretty difficult to do for an extended period of time. Therefore, Thunderbolt Titan should first save him. Thunderbolt Titan had successfully completed his first 2 missions. However, the villain was not happy that he ruined his evil plans. So he captured him and locked him in a room with no exits. There was only a note that said, "Answer this riddle and you might escape." What can fill a room but takes up no space? The answer is light. Even though Thunderbolt Titan answered the riddle correctly, nothing happened. The villain had tricked him. He had to do something, so he used his superpowers to open 3 portals for himself. However, he didn't have great control over his magical portal power yet. So, all the portals led to tricky places. The first one opened to a jungle full of all kinds of wild animals. The second one opened into the middle of a desert planet, and the third one opened to the edge of a steep, rocky hill. Which one should he choose? Remember the roller coaster mission? Thunderbolt Titan can fly, So he can choose the third portal and fly to safety from the steep hill. One night, Thunderbolt Titan was patrolling the city when he received a distress call. A woman had been attacked by a purse snatcher, and during the struggle, she fell and hit her head. She was now in the hospital room without her bag and her memory. The police officer informed Thunderbolt Titan that there were 3 men outside her door, all claiming to be her husband. Can you help Thunderbolt Titan figure out who is telling the truth? The purse snatcher might have taken her bag, but he didn't take her necklace. Look, she has an L letter pendant. And the first guy here has a neck tattoo that says Liz. He must be her husband. Thunderbolt Titan got an emergency alarm call from the Antarctica Animals Research Center. One of their beloved penguins had been stolen, and they needed his help to find the thief. After using his superhero senses, he narrowed the suspects to 3. Take a look at them. Can you figure out who stole the penguin? The second lady looks like she's hiding something under her skirt, but she's just pregnant. The third guy's backpack looks bulky, but see the flight tag attached to it? That's just his carry-on. But the first guy is hiding raw fish inside his tote bag. That must be to feed the penguin, so he's the thief. During a championship race, one of the cars was suspected of being sabotaged. Thunderbolt Titan was called to the scene to help identify which one with his scanning power. Can you figure it out before him? Take a look at the rear wheel of car 2. It's slightly wobbling, even though the car is stationary. Uh-oh. Okay, sharpen your brain, and here we go. Look at these 2 girls who got in trouble in the savannah. Who is in bigger danger? The girl on the right is definitely in bigger trouble. There's a whole zeal of zebras running toward her. As for the girl on the left, she's in less of a trouble. Even though a huge elephant is speeding towards her, she can hide behind this large stone. Detective Liam was invited to investigate a strange case. James, an extravagant yet very selfish man, got robbed the other day. The case seemed hopeless. Yet there was a small clue, a cryptic note left at the crime scene. S+1, D+1, C+1. The next day, 3 suspects were delivered to the police station. Their names were Ted, Sam, and Don. Once the detectives saw their names, it became obvious who the robber was. Can you guess who it was? It's Ted. All you need to do to decipher this code is to use the alphabet. At an elite party, waiters were serving drinks and snacks to all the guests. 2 aspiring actresses, Jill and Jane, had cocktails too. The next day, Jane showed up in an audition while Jill was in a hospital with doctors fighting for her life. Why? If you were attentive enough, you noticed that even though both girls had the same drinks, Jane didn't have any ice in hers, so the poison must have been in the ice. One day, Andrew and Alex decided to jump with a parachute for fun. However, for one of them, this might be their last day on Earth. Who's in danger? It's Alex. Look, he's got no parachute. It's just a backpack. However, if the guys notice it, Alex can still be saved. He needs to hold on to Andrew tightly to land safely. A group of friends, Louis, Jessica, and Albert, went hiking. Dusk was falling rapidly, and they decided to start a fire and have their late-night dinner. But once the flames lit the dark, it became obvious that one of them was a monster. Did you spot the intruder? It's surely Jessica. No human being can have those cat eyes. Three friends, Max, Mark, and Mick, went to a fancy new restaurant to try out some cool dishes a mysterious chef had cooked. Everyone loved the food, but oops, the next day, Max and Mark passed away in a hospital. The doctor said the two guys had severe food poisoning, and there was nothing they could do to save them. Now, look at the footage from the restaurant. Why did Mick survive? Apparently, poisoned tomatoes took the lives of the two friends. Look, Mick doesn't have this ingredient in his food. Now imagine waking up in a weird cage and seeing 3 doors in front of you. There's nothing horrendous waiting for you behind those doors, but the handles don't really inspire you. The thing is, the handle of the first door is covered with some nasty, probably toxic or radioactive ooze. The second handle is literally on fire. The third one has some super high voltage running through it. Which one should you choose? Hey, look, there are rubber gloves in the corner and you're wearing rubber boots. This might not help against ooze and fire, but it can definitely save you from high voltage. Pick the third door. Let's put your math skills to the test. Don't worry, it's easy peasy. When all birds landed one on each tree, one bird was left without a tree to sit on. But when 2 birds landed on one tree, there was one tree left vacant. How many trees were there? There were 4 birds and 3 trees. Now, my dear detective, we're going to test not your sharp eyes, but your logic. So, the poor have it, the rich need it, and if you eat it, you're going to surely pass away. What's that? It's nothing. The poor have nothing, the rich need nothing, and if you eat nothing, there's no chance you're going to survive for long. Jane and John Doe were an ordinary young couple. One day, they decided to go out of town and spend some time in nature, so they jumped into a car. While they were driving, they suddenly saw 4 people hitchhiking at a gas station, but most of them looked pretty suspicious. There was a man in tattered clothes, a woman wearing a cape, a man with a sullen face, and a teenage girl. Who should they give a ride to? Look, the woman in the cape doesn't cast a shadow. She must be a vampire. The man with the sullen face has a vampire bite on his neck, so he's now a vampire too. The teenage girl has suspicious claws, so she must be a werewolf. Thus, the man in tattered clothes is the only one who doesn't seem to be dangerous. 3 friends fell asleep under a tree in the countryside. While they were resting, a guy passing by painted mustaches on their faces. Once the men woke up, they started to laugh, but then, all of a sudden, they stopped. Why? At first, they saw the mustaches on their friends' faces and found it funny. But then, they realized their friends were laughing too. It meant that they had mustaches on their faces as well. On a rainy evening, Mary came home and found that someone had eaten her chocolate bar. Well, she asked her siblings who had done that. Jane said she had been working out in her room and she didn't even eat sweets. Ingrid said that she would never eat somebody else's chocolate. Jessica said that she had been outside watering plants in the garden. She'd just come home herself. Who lied? I'd say it was Jessica. It was raining outside, so she didn't really need to water the plants. One day, Detective Brightbrain was called to the airport, where an angry passenger demanded immediate compensation for stolen luggage. The angry passenger said that he had bought a plane ticket to the city of Chicago. He checked his 15-pound bag, but when he got it back, it was light as a feather. He claimed that there had been valuable things in the bag: a laptop, a ring, and a watch. He opened it right at the counter, and it was empty. While the man was waving his arms and shouting at the counter, a bag fell out of his pocket. The detective picked it up and immediately realized that the passenger was a liar. How did he guess? Well, let's just say the bag wasn't exactly filled with gold coins or anything. It was a bag of dry ice. The scandalous passenger had no valuables. He had just put several blocks of dry ice in the suitcase and deliberately left the zipper slightly open. During the long flight, the contents simply evaporated, leaving no traces. The swindler only needed to pretend to be indignant and demand compensation. You find yourself trapped in a medieval castle, far away from civilization. You can't jump out the window because it's too high above the ground. The only tree growing near the window doesn't look sturdy enough for you to use it to climb down. However, there are 3 doors, and one of them can lead you to freedom. But behind the first door, a fierce fire is raging. The second door holds back hundreds of venomous snakes, and behind the third door, there's a pitch-dark maze, and you can only imagine what surprises are waiting for you there. Which door should you choose? The third. You'll just need to break off a tree branch, turn it into a torch by lighting it in the first room, and go through the maze. It won't be dark anymore. 2 houses are on fire. One of them belongs to Jack, who is poor. Another one is a luxurious mansion that belongs to James. Which fire will the police extinguish first? Well, the police don't extinguish the fire. The firefighters do. Somebody call them, please. Hey, let's see how smart you are. Ezra is in love with his new classmate named Amber. He asks her out. She agrees to go on a date with him under one condition. He has to figure out which one of these 7 pencil cases is hers. Can you help him out? Take a look at Amber's outfit. It's pretty obvious that she likes cats. So we can make a short list of cases with cat decorations. Also, Amber likes purple. Therefore, only this pencil case is a perfect match. Ezra and Amber are walking down the street and enjoying each other's company. But there's a criminal among these people. Can you spot who? It's this black hoodie guy inside the police car. Ezra wants to take Amber to his favorite spot in the park. But unfortunately, the main road is closed for repairs. They have to walk through this maze. Can you help them find the correct route? Here's the only way leading to the final destination. Ezra takes a couple of pictures of Amber. Can you find 5 differences between them? Feel free to stop the video if you need more time. Are you ready to see the answers? Here they are. Later that day, Ezra returns home. He wants to watch videos on his tablet. But unfortunately, his little brother pulled a prank and changed his password. Can you help Ezra figure out the new 4-digit code? Ezra's brother left this painting on the wall. It's a hint. All Ezra has to do is count the number of angles on each shape. So the answer is 3406. Ezra is watching his favorite travel blogger, Diego. This guy has a couple of million followers. This time, Diego goes into the uninhabited desert. He wants to find a very rare type of lizard. He reaches his final destination, posts several photos, and goes to sleep. After this post, thousands of people, including Ezra, unsubscribe from Diego. Why? Take a look at the third photo. See this sign? There's a hotel nearby. So Diego lied. He's not in the uninhabited desert. Amber wakes up in the middle of the night because she hears someone crying and moaning. She turns on the nightlight. There's a creepy ghost standing in front of her bed. But soon Amber realizes that the ghost isn't real. How did she know? Look at the floor. This ghost has a shadow, so it can't be real. The next morning, Amber enters the class and sees a bunch of beautiful flowers at her desk. She finds a love note on the bouquet. The flowers are from a secret admirer. Amber wants to know who sent them, so she questions 3 suspects. Ezra says that he's allergic to lilies. Harry says he's in love with another lady. It makes no sense for him to send any gifts to Amber. And Bob says he was the first to arrive at the class today. The flowers were already on Amber's desk. Who's the secret admirer? Take a look at Harry's desk. There's a notebook with the exact same purple paper as the love note. Gotcha. After classes, Ezra and Amber go to the local coffee shop. They take a seat and look around. They see a guy and a lady competing in arm wrestling. Who has more chances to win? Take a look at the lady's neck. It has a USB port. She's a robot. Therefore, she's gonna win. Ezra returns home and finds out that his father, Aaron, is missing. Aaron is a genius scientist and businessman. He's been receiving many threats recently. So Ezra calls the police right away. The officer questions Aaron's 3 major rivals. Alex says he left the business many years ago. He lives a humble life in the village. Chris says his business is much more successful than Aaron's. Why would he kidnap him? And Mike says he hasn't seen Aaron for many years, and they don't have any joint ventures. One of these guys is involved in Aaron's disappearance. Can you guess who? Take a look at the fridge. Aaron left a hint. If we use the letters encoded in this message, we'll get the name Mike. Meanwhile, Aaron wakes up in a creepy dungeon. His kidnappers ask him to create a potion that can shrink people tenfold. Aaron doesn't want to help them. Luckily, he has 2 pills in his pocket. The first one makes you invisible, and the second one makes you 10 times bigger. Aaron doesn't know which pill is which. Can you come up with an escape plan? Aaron is sitting here all alone. He has no one to test the pills on. So it's better to create the shrinking pills for the kidnappers. Then eat one of his own pills. If he grows 10 times, he can just use the new pills to return to his actual size. But if he turns invisible, he can escape with the shrinking pills. Well, Aaron escapes from the kidnappers and runs to the nearest subway. Can you spot a criminal in this location? Hello? Aaron gets on a busy train and goes to the police station. One of these passengers is a wizard. Can you spot who? It's this lady. Her feet don't touch the floor. She's flying. Aaron is walking towards the police station, but suddenly he falls into a pit. He ends up getting trapped in a dungeon. Soon, Aaron finds 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a mirror labyrinth. It drives every man who dares to spend more than 5 minutes there crazy. There's a hungry wolf behind the second door. He loves feasting on humans. And behind the third door, there's a huge tank with sharks. If Aaron steps in, he'll fall into the tank. What should he do to survive? Aaron should open the third door, then open the second door and let the wolf out. And finally, quickly hide behind the first door and close his eyes. The wolf would start looking for Aaron behind the second door and fall into the tank with sharks. Then Aaron will be free to escape through the second door. Finally, Aaron is home. Ezra prepares him a welcome chocolate cake. He puts it on the table and leaves the kitchen for a moment. Then he returns and finds out that the cake is ruined. Ezra questions the 2 people who are in the house. His brother says that he's been playing video games in the living room. He didn't enter the kitchen. And Aaron says he's been taking a shower. Who ruined the cake? Neither brother nor father. The window in the kitchen is open, and there's a bird covered in chocolate on the tree. It was the bird. Aaron builds a robot that can do all the housework and calls it Meg. One day, Aaron comes home from work and finds out that his robot is missing. He's looking for it everywhere, and finally finds a dungeon. He goes there hoping to find his robot. But instead, he finds 5 robots looking exactly the same as his. He only has 1 try to pick the right robot. Can you help Aaron? Some robots have badges, some do not. But only this one has the name Meg. The next day, Aaron enters his office and finds one of his best employees, Stan, lying on the floor in one of the rooms. Someone had hit him on the head. The police question the workers and find 3 suspects. Maya, the office assistant, says she had a couple of days off and spent them sunbathing on the beach. Rob, the manager, tells the police that his friend had called him to ask for help. That's why he left the office before Stan came to work. Lily, Stan's girlfriend, says they had quarreled earlier that day, but after that, she didn't see him. The police officers understand right away who's lying. What about you? Maya said she spent several days on the beach, but her skin is super pale. Uh-oh, busted.
Detectives Tim and Anderson had just been handed the most cryptic mission of their careers. No one at the agency could even tell them where they were heading. All they got was a coded message and a map with only continent names labeled. "Look closely at the map," their handlers said. "Add a direction to one of these continents, and you will get the name of the country where you're going." Can you help them to figure it out? It didn't take them long to crack it. The direction was south, and the continent was Africa, because adding South to Africa gave them South Africa. Bingo! Now they are definitely sure where they're supposed to go. Their next set of instructions would come from an informant during the flight, so they boarded and spotted 3 men sitting next to them. Can you tell which one is their guy? Look, this man is holding a suitcase marked with a small emblem from the detective agency. Which, by the way, is the same emblem Tim and Anderson have on their suitcases. This is definitely the informant. They walk over, and he discreetly handed them a slip of paper before slipping back into their seats. The note was supposed to contain the name of their main suspect, but they quickly realized that it was also encoded. Thankfully, Tim remembered an old trick from their agency. Each vowel matched up with a number. That means the letter A corresponds to the number 1. The letter E is 2, I is 3, O is 4, and U is 5. Now it is time to crack the criminal's name. The name is spelled out as Nico Nacho. Of all names, Nico Nacho, Anderson chuckled, but they knew better than to underestimate him. Nico was notorious in the underworld for his crafty disguises and dangerous alliances. When they touched down in South Africa, they found out that Nico ran a restaurant as his cover. A taxi driver agreed to take them there, but only if they guessed which of the taxis belonged to him. Then, he handed him this encoded message. Can you tell which taxi the detectives should choose among these 3? These strange symbols are mirrored numbers. If we cut the upside-down triangle, we get the number 7. Cut the 8 and we get the number 3. Do the same with this weird heart-shaped symbol and it becomes number 2. So the correct taxi is the one that has the number 7327 on the license plate. Tim and Anderson finally arrive at their destination, but there are 3 restaurants on this street, and each one has really bizarre names. The restaurant signs read Okan, Atsap, and Silrag. Can you guess which one belongs to Nico's criminal network? A quick flip of the words told them everything they needed to know. Reading it backwards, Silrag turns into garlic. Atsap is pasta. And Okan spells nacho. Wow, just like Nico's last name. Yep, this is definitely the place. They walked into the shady restaurant, but to be honest, it looked pretty ordinary. So they asked the manager to check the security camera footage from the night before, after the place closed. The manager looked nervous, but she agreed. Then she showed them the footage from 2 different cameras that captured the empty restaurant from different angles. Then, suddenly, Tim shouted, "Wait! Pause here! Play it again!" Can you figure out why he decided to rewind the footage? Both cameras had the same timestamp, but one showed the piñata hanging from the ceiling moving, while in the other one, the piñata didn't move at all. A possible explanation is that the criminals erased some footage, so the video looks like it's paused. And look over there. In this footage, they can see a sketchy door. Something is definitely up with that. Maybe they wanted to hide who went in there. Tim and Anderson get inside that door and spot a staircase leading to the basement. Heading down, the stairs seemed to stretch endlessly. When they reached the bottom, they were confronted by a chilling sight. 3 cages, each containing a captive surrounded by dangerous animals. So the 2 of them got a message on their phones that said, "You can save only one. There is no time to save them all." In the first cage, a person stood stock still as crocodiles swam beneath, their beady eyes watching, waiting. In the second, tigers paced and growled, tense and ready to pounce. In the third, a network of snakes slithered around the feet of the captive, coiling and hissing. Tim and Anderson had to think fast. Who will they save first? Let's see. Crocodiles are not as aggressive unless provoked. The snakes are likely venomous, but as long as the person stayed calm, they'd have a little time. The tigers, though, they were actively circling, clearly hostile, and seconds away from attacking. They had to make a call, and fast. In a split second, they went for the person surrounded by tigers, pulling them free just as one of the tigers roared. But they got the person out in time. Phew! Sorry, but the other victims will have to wait a bit longer to be rescued, because when they looked back, the detectives saw a hooded suspect sneaking out of the basement. Tim and Anderson took off running after him. They chased him hard until the suspect reached a dead end. The detectives shouted, "Stop right there!" But then they realized they were actually the ones who were in danger. But how? Take a look at the floor. There are only 2 detectives, but there are 4 shadows on the ground. That means there are 2 people right behind them. Tim and Anderson froze in fear, but they didn't have time to think. Suddenly, a group of tough guys surrounded them. "You think you can just come in here and mess with Nico's operation?" one of them asked. And then he said that Nico Nacho would see them, but only if they could solve a riddle to prove their worth. He handed them a note that said, "I belong to the month of December, and not to any other month. I am not a holiday. What am I?" What the criminals didn't know was that Tim was a pro at riddles. He immediately realized the answer was the letter D, since no other month has that letter. They finally made it to Nico Nacho's mansion, but their problems were far from over. There was a really angry dog at the door growling at them. The detectives knew they were in deep trouble. Anderson thought out loud. "What should we do? Run for it, raise our hands, or grab a bottle of water?" Now tell us in the comments, what would you do? Got any advice for them? Running or raising their hands could freak the dog out even more, making things way more dangerous. The smart move is to grab the water bottle and throw it far away so the dog goes after it, giving them a chance to sneak into the house. And that is exactly what they do. As soon as they step into the main room, Tim and Anderson take in the decor, glance at each other, and realize something feels really off. What did they notice? See that picture on the wall? That is not Nico Nacho. That guy is the informant. Yep, the one who was on the plane with them. But wait, that makes zero sense. Can someone please tell them what is going on? Suddenly, a bunch of their fellow detectives burst into the room, clapping and congratulating them. This time, they weren't after Nico Nacho. Turns out, Tim and Anderson's super-secret mission was actually a huge prank by the detective agency, because they were celebrating their 100th case. They wanted to mark the occasion with some special puzzles, riddles, and of course, a bunch of very professional actors. Inspector Lewis found the footage of a fancy dinner where a famous actress was almost poisoned. He analyzed the video and came to a quick conclusion of who was the culprit. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who tried to poison the celebrity? The picture clearly shows that the second lady was the culprit. You see, the lady decided to wear gloves so she wouldn't get poison on her hands and poison herself. Besides, if you were to poison someone, you would have to make the food look presentable. And if you take a look at the First Lady's soup, it looks pretty terrible. Alex needed to get across a park in the middle of the night. He walked fast, until out of nowhere a hooded man came up to him and knocked him out. The next day, Alex went to the closest police station to file a report. When he got there, the police were interrogating 3 suspects, Ben, Michael, and Bernie. The detective gave each of them a marker and asked them to write down their names. As soon as they finished, he arrested the right person. How did the officer know who to arrest? The test wasn't all that random after all. Alex was hit from the right side, so the police were trying to figure out who was left-handed. And among these 3 guys, the only left-handed one is Bernie. On a moonless night, Mary decides to watch a horror movie before going to bed. She passes out on her couch, and the next thing she knows, she wakes up in a haunted castle. She hears screeching sounds and screams all over the place. She walks carefully to the kitchen, where she finds 3 suspicious meals ready to be eaten. Take a look at the plates. Can you help Mary figure out which of these plates is poisoned? So, the French fries look relatively okay. The cake has a spider climbing on top of it. But hey, it's protein, right? But the meat, oh, the meat has a strange liquid coming out of it. That's the one that's probably poisoned. The airport police are having a lot of trouble these days. Many convicts escape prison and are trying to leave the country as fast as they can. Take a look at this image. You gotta figure out ASAP who the fugitive is. It's the lady on the right. Although the woman in the wanted poster is blonde, she must have dyed her hair brown to try to get through security. But her lips and freckles are exactly the same as in the picture. Something weird happened to Johnny's wedding day. He was busy tackling some last-minute problems when he slipped on a banana peel. How comical. He hit his head pretty strongly, but when he woke up, he didn't know where he was. He lost his long and short-term memory, and uh-oh, there were 4 different brides in front of him, but he didn't know who his real bride was. Take a look at the image, and first of all, try to rule out which of these brides is actually life-threatening to Johnny. Did you see the hidden poison jar on that bride? The bride on the left is probably pretty dangerous. He should rule her out first. Jane and Brendan really didn't like each other. They were sharing a flat because they were short on money. What Brendan didn't know is that Jane had some evil plans. She planned on poisoning one of his meals, since she was the one that always prepared the food. One day, she cooked the same piece of meat for both of them. She cut it in half, ate her share, and gave him the other part. After he ate it, he started to feel really bad and was taken to the hospital. The question is, how did Jane manage to survive while Brendan got sick? Jane put poison on one side of the knife, which was the piece she gave Brendan. Take a look at this image. Who do you think is being more careless here? It's the girl on the right. She's almost falling out of the boat. She should move to the middle and help balance the weight. And what about in this image? Who do you think is being irresponsible here? Let's see. It's the person on the right. The snake is too close to her face. It could hurt her, while the crocodile is simply interested in the meal the man is feeding him. An old lady was shopping at the mall when she saw something strange. She looked at a woman all dressed in orange at the cashier and shouted that she was seeing a prisoner that must have just escaped from prison. The woman in orange felt really confused, called the police, and got the old lady kicked out of the mall. What exactly happened here? The woman was dressed in orange overalls. It was just a fashion trend, but the old lady mistook it for prison clothing. In a parallel reality where humans, witches, and all types of beings coexist, Jenny and Lawrence were playing hide and seek. They were inside a huge old mansion. Jenny spent hours looking for her friend until she stepped inside the study. There were footprints up until the middle of the room, and then they disappeared. The only window of the room was open. Take a look at the picture. Can you figure out what happened here? Lawrence was a shapeshifter. This explains why the footprints didn't reach the window. Plus, look at the bird food on the floor. He probably shapeshifted into a bird and escaped. Katie got lost in the desert. She walked for hours when suddenly she came across a huge oasis. But to reach the main waterfall where she could drink some water, she had to cross a bridge. There were 3 bridges leading to the same place. The first bridge was far from the ground, and its rope looked like it could rip at any second. The second bridge had some hungry-looking alligators crawling on it. The last bridge stood above a lake full of poisonous water plants. Which bridge should she choose? The last one. The bridge stands above a poisonous lake, but she won't touch the water when crossing it. A group of friends rented a fancy villa for vacation, right on the seaside. When they arrived, the hostess offered them cake and drinks. They chatted and ate the delicious cake, when suddenly 2 of them started to feel really bad. They were immediately taken to the hospital, and the doctor said they found poison in their bodies. Take a look at the image. How did the other 2 friends survive after eating the cake? That's easy. The poison wasn't in the cake. The poison was on the drinks the hostess served them. If you look closely, the friends that felt sick drank what the hostess offered them, and the others didn't. Oh my! Mark, Bray, and Livia are doing terribly financially. So they walked into a local supermarket looking for the cheapest thing to buy. One of them was planning on stealing something. But hey, can you figure out who just stole something? It was Livia, the little girl. She's hiding something in her shirt pocket. Can you see?
All right, without tilting your head or turning the screen upside down, try to figure out what's wrong with this picture. The woman's mouth is upside down, see? Now look at these hands. Which is the odd one out? The answer is hand number 2. It's the odd one out because it's a left hand. All the other hands are right hands. Look at these prisoners carefully. Which of them will escape from jail? It's the vampire who's going to escape from jail. Do you see that the window of his cell is open? Well, most vampires have the ability to transform into bats. He can do it too and fly away through the window. Now, how about these women? We can see that the lady on the left is visibly upset. She also has red stains on her dress. The girl in the middle, she seems to be a bride, is calm, but she has a slit in her dress. The woman on the right is angry and has something red on her hands. Can you figure out which of these ladies is dangerous? It's that bride in the middle. You can spot a knife hidden under her dress. Can you move only 2 matchsticks to take the bee out of the glass? But you need to keep the glass shape. To solve this match puzzle, you have to turn the glass upside down or make it inverted. Move the only horizontal match either left or right so that only its end touches the bottom vertical match. Then take one of the top vertical matches and move it down to make the other side of the glass. Now, you need to move only 2 matchsticks to make the biggest number possible. The highest number you can make by moving only 2 matches is 781. Take the middle and bottom horizontal matches from the number 3. Using them, you can make a 1 next to the 8. Look at this picture carefully. What's wrong with it? The cord for the electric hairdryer is missing. A bit of the cord can be seen behind the hairdresser, but then it disappears. I am round, I am sharp, I am small, I am big. I exist, then I don't. What am I? It's the moon. It's round when it's full, it's sharp when it's a crescent, its size can vary depending on its phase, and it's gone when it's a new moon. You are driving a car. On your right, there's a steep cliff. Right in front of you, there's a horse. And right behind you, there's an elephant. Both of these animals travel at your own speed. On your left, there's a fire truck blocking you. How can you stop your car? Just ask the merry-go-round operator to stop. Mr. Brown's wife had gone missing. A detective came to investigate this case. Mr. Brown told him that the last time he had seen his wife had been in the morning. She was having breakfast then. When Mr. Brown returned home at 6 p.m., her breakfast was still on the table, but she had disappeared. After these words, the detective immediately arrested Mr. Brown. Why did he do so? When the detective arrived at the Browns' house, the breakfast was still steaming. This means that Mr. Brown had set up the scene right before he called the police. A man was trapped in a dark room. His only source of light was a candle. There were 3 doors leading out of the room. Behind one of them, there was a tunnel that could lead him outside. Behind the other two doors, there was just a concrete wall. The man had a key that could open any of the doors, but he could only use it once. Still, the man managed to escape. How did he do this? He brought the candle to each of the keyholes in turn. Near the door with the tunnel, the flames started to dance. There were two trains heading towards each other. They were going along the same track, and it was 7 o'clock on the same day. And still, the trains didn't crash. How is it possible? One of the trains was moving at 7 a.m. and the other at 7 p.m. Carl and his wife Olivia had dinner. They ate the same dishes: French fries, some fish, and vegetable salad. Half an hour later, Carl felt unwell and called the ambulance. It turned out that the man had been poisoned. But he and his wife ate the same dishes, and Olivia was perfectly fine. The next day, the police arrested the woman for trying to poison her husband. How come? Olivia made all the dishes not salty enough and put poison in the salt shaker. Ooh. Something went wrong in a super-secret laboratory. Scientists ended up locked in one room with the vicious monsters. One of the researchers managed to figure out how they could get out of this dire situation. But the substance they needed was in another part of the laboratory. The scientists could get there through one of 3 corridors. The first was guarded by fire-breathing crocodiles. The second corridor was filled with meat-eating sunflowers with extra sharp teeth. Whoa! And the third passage was swarming with venomous bees. Which one should the scientists choose? They should opt for the corridor with the sunflowers. Those are plants, and however scary they are, they can't move. 3 expensive watches have been stolen from Mr. Brown's store this year. The police can't help the poor man. He decides to hire a private detective. When Laura arrives, she immediately asks for the CCTV footage from January to December. After watching it, she tells the store owner who the thief is. What has she noticed in the video? The same guy came to the store several times, in April, August, and November, and every time he has a cast on his arm, but no broken bone would need 8 months to heal. David moved to a new town. The place was so small there were just 2 dentists there. One day David woke up with a toothache. He needed a dentist, and fast. The first dentist had fairly old equipment, and his teeth were kind of bad. The second dentist had a spotless office with the newest equipment and a Hollywood smile. Which professional should he opt for? David should go to the one with bad teeth. You see, dentists can't treat their own teeth. So the first dentist must have looked after the teeth of the second one. Ooh, great job. One afternoon, all the money was stolen from the register of the small cafe on the beach. The police have 5 suspects. All of them claim they hadn't been to the cafe in the past hour. Look at them carefully and try to find out who the thief is. It's the guy with a cocktail in his hand. He definitely bought it in the cafe. But then, why did he lie about not visiting the place? Here are 2 adorable couples in front of you. Jane and John, and Mary and Jack. Both are cooking something yummy for dinner together. So cute. But hey, one of the ladies is in danger. Who is it? It's Mary. Look, even though it may seem that John is trying to poison Jane's coffee, it's not like that. He's just adding some sugar. But Jack has a knife in his back pocket. It was a regular Sunday morning and Kendall went shopping. While she was window shopping, a pickpocket ran up to her and stole a wallet from her purse. She called for help, and 3 police officers approached her, asking what had happened and how they could help. Can you help Kendall understand which of these 3 officers can be trusted? Look closely at the officers. One of them has the Apple logo on his uniform. Another one doesn't have a cap that would match the rest of his uniform. So here's the one Kendall can really trust. The other 2 must be the pickpocket's accomplices in disguise. At a local supermarket, employees started noticing that someone kept stealing their produce. However, they didn't spot any weird people at all, so it must have been one of their loyal customers. The store's security guard decided to re-watch the closed-circuit TV footage to find out who the thief was. Once he began watching the footage from the day before, he instantly spotted the culprit. Can you spot them too? Look, there are 3 customers in the footage: a woman, a teen, and an elderly lady. At the start, everything seems okay. But a couple of minutes later, the woman gets pregnant? Now, that's impossible. She's certainly hiding something she's stolen underneath her jumper. It was a friends gathering. People were having fun, eating some scrumptious dishes that Susie, the host of the party, had cooked for them. The next day, in a group chat, Erica, Jacob's wife, texted that evening her husband had been rushed to the hospital, where he passed away a couple of hours later. The doctors said it was poisoning, and Erica rightly accused Susie of poisoning her husband. How did she do? Look at the image again and tell how Jacob was poisoned. Jacob was the only one having plain water that night. Look, everyone else was drinking tea and had no issues after the dinner. It means that the water in the jug was poisoned. Polly and Molly were walking down an avenue when they decided to sit in a cafe and have some iced lattes. No sooner had they sat down to enjoy their drinks than Polly whispered in Molly's ear, "We've got to run away from here fast. There's a man that escaped from prison next to us. It's dangerous to stay here." How did she know that? There were only 3 customers in the cafe. These 2 men looked totally okay, but this one is trying to hide handcuffs underneath his long sleeves. Annabelle, the world's greatest actress, woke up in a hospital. She couldn't remember anything but her name. She didn't know where she lived, where she worked, or even who she lived with. One thing she knew for sure was that she was married. There was a ring with a massive diamond on her ring finger. A couple of hours after her awakening, 2 men showed up in her room, Ryan and Jeff. Ryan was a young and good-looking man, and Jeff, well, let's say he was old enough to be her grandfather. Both of them claimed she was his wife. Who is the real husband? Well, sorry to break it to you, but Jeff is her real husband. Yeah, Ryan has a tattoo that says Annabelle, but it's Jeff who has a matching wedding ring. Ryan must be one of her fans who wants to take advantage of the situation. Eric and Hugh were heading to the class reunion party. It's been 10 years since they graduated, and both of them wanted to impress their high school love interest, Mary. They both knew Mary was a pretty materialistic girl, so they needed to show how rich both of them got. Maybe this way, she could finally notice one of them and even agree to go on a date. Here's the kicker though, only one of the guys actually got rich. The other just pretended to be wealthy. Can you guess who it is? Easy peasy. Eric is rich and Hugh is brokey broke. Yeah, Hugh arrived at the party driving a posh car, and he's wearing designer jewelry head to toe. As for Eric, he had to use public transport to get to the party. But take a closer look at the car. There are bank loan documents piled up on the back seat. Hugh probably just rented the car for the day. Meanwhile, Eric's wearing some luxury items. He probably just didn't want to waste time in traffic. Jason is a shop assistant in a department store. At the moment, there are 3 people in the fitting room who he's assisting. It's Jessica, the girl wearing a green dress, Sean, the man wearing a leather jacket and skinny jeans, and Alex, the man who's currently taking a larger pair of jeans that Jason has bought him. One of the clients is an alien. Jason has to figure out who it is. It's Alex. Take a closer look at his feet. Only a reptile or an alien can have such feet. Mary was walking in the woods and suddenly saw a really fancy castle. It was getting late, and she thought she might ask for a stay in that castle. It was a wicked troll's castle, and he really didn't like intruders. Mary was captured and locked up in a dark room with 2 guards. Still, the troll gave her a chance to break free. There were 2 doors in the room. One door led to freedom, and the other one was locked. The guards knew which door led to freedom. One of the guards always told the truth, the other always lied, and Mary didn't know who was who. She could ask one guard only one question. What question should she ask? Mary should say, "If I ask your colleague to show me the way to freedom, what door will it be?" No matter which guard replies, they will point at the locked door. The one that lies will point at the wrong door on purpose, and the one that tells the truth will do it since that's what the other one who lies would choose. This way, Mary can figure out the wrong door and choose the other one. Jane was on a hike in Africa when she decided to cross a bridge to admire the view. When she was in the middle of the bridge, she heard something moving behind her. She turned and saw a huge, hungry lion waiting for her. She turned to the other side. There were giant snakes. The water to her left was filled with hungry piranhas. Where should she go? She should jump into the lake. Piranhas don't live in lakes, especially in Africa. They live in South America. Look closer. Those are just some harmless fish. A man wakes up in a place he's never been to before. He rushes to the exit and sees 2 doors. When he opens the first door, he sees that the hall is made of magnifying glass. The scorching hot sun fries anyone who enters in no time. Behind the second door, a huge fire-breathing dragon is sleeping. But anyone who enters this hall risks waking it up immediately. How can the man escape safely? He needs to wait for dusk when there's no sun. Then he'll be able to get out of that place. Maria lives in Paris. Once in 2 weeks, she goes to Saint-Tropez to see her extravagant grandmother. This time, she bought a ticket in a machine, finished her coffee in a bar, and headed for the train. Strangely, this weekend, she didn't show up in Saint-Tropez. Why? She bought the wrong ticket. It says Saint-Tropez, Paris. But she needed Paris, Saint-Tropez. When she tried to get on the train, the conductor immediately noticed that her ticket was wrong, and she just didn't have enough time to change it.
On an overnight train in Budapest, Mrs. Celine got robbed. She is a very wealthy heiress, and she inherited a diamond necklace from her great-grandmother, which was the exact piece of jewelry that was robbed. She called the inspector to solve the crime. After interviewing most of the passengers on board the train, the inspector narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Mr. Bruges was an eccentric widower, carrying a mysterious bag. Mr. Blue was one of the waiters on the train, carrying his metallic tray around. And Mr. Pearls was a hoarder, carrying lots of suitcases. Take a look at the images and give it your best shot at solving this crime. Mr. Bruges is just trying to keep his cat safe inside his mysterious bag. He's no criminal. Mr. Pearls is sweating like that because he's carrying all his valuable belongings, so he's really afraid to be robbed. This leaves us Mr. Blue, the true culprit. If you look attentively, he has a diamond necklace poking out from under his metallic tray. The airport police are having a lot of trouble these days. Many convicts escape prison and are trying to leave the country as fast as they can. Take a look at this image. You gotta figure out ASAP who is the fugitive. It's the lady on the right. Although the woman in the wanted poster is blonde, she must have dyed her hair brown to get through security. But her lips and freckles are exactly the same as in the picture. Tess, Ivy, and Monica are in a pretty bad financial rut. They walked into a local supermarket planning on stealing something. What they didn't know was that there was a police officer watching the cameras at the store. Can you figure out who just stole some chips? It was Tess, the first lady. Sure, Ivy is sweating a lot, but she didn't take anything. But look at Tess's hair. She's hiding some chips in that ponytail. For this year's Super Bowl, Taylor decided to invite some friends over to her place. Her house was packed with some of her closest friends. But some random people also crashed the party. Out of nowhere, her friend Jackie screamed she saw a thief amongst them. Someone had stolen her golden bracelet. Take a look at the footage from the party. Sherlock, can you spot the thief? You sure have a good eye if you spot the thief in the middle of the crowd. He was really swift in sneaking behind that woman and stealing her bracelet. Way to go, you! John started his Sunday morning by jogging around the park near his house. When he returned, he found out very unpleasant news. Someone had stolen his car. He questioned 3 of his neighbors. Henry said he had been playing video games for the past 12 hours and hadn't left his basement during all that time. Rosie said she was a gardener and had been planting daisies in the public area all morning. She also said she saw a suspicious man who opened John's car using a knife. Jack said he had seen John's car when he went out for groceries, but when he returned home, it was gone. After listening to the suspects, John immediately knew who had done it. Can you tell who it was? It was Rosie. She said she'd been planting daisies, but look, there are only rose bushes in this area. Bernard is the owner of a meat shop downtown. He sells really expensive meat. As soon as he opened his shop, he had a rush of customers coming in to buy their daily meat. During the rush, he was so busy attending to the customers that he didn't see that someone stole the bacon. Who's the thief here? It's the guy in the suit. The dog is smelling his bag like there's some bacon inside it. He's definitely it. Jane was playing a video game when she was swallowed by the game. The next thing she knows, she's facing 3 mischievous robots. One of them stole her game controller, so she can't go back to her own reality. You gotta help Jane figure out which robot stole her controller. So far, you know that Robot A said, "B is the thief," and that the real thief always tells the truth. Can you solve this mystery with such little information? Robot C is the culprit. Let's check it out really quickly. If A was telling the truth, then it would be the thief. But it's impossible because A claims that B is the thief. B is also not the thief since A's claim that B is the thief is a lie. This just leaves us with the last option, Robot C. Betty was traveling across France. One night, she gave herself a treat by booking a table at an expensive restaurant. She was halfway through dinner when an elderly woman approached her. The woman said she looked a lot like her daughter and asked her for a favor. Since she hadn't spoken to her daughter for ages, she asked Betty to say, "Goodbye, Mother," as she left the restaurant. Betty thought it was super strange, but agreed. Soon after, she received the shock of her life. Guess what it was and share your 2 cents with us below. Betty was surprised with the bill which belonged to the elderly woman. She had asked the waiter to collect the bill from her daughter. Uh-oh, Betty. Can't believe you fell for that. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her. But after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Take a look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat, Pepper, got scared with a loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. The customer was saying that he had ordered soup, while the waiter was saying that he had only ordered tea. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Prove to us that you've got the sharpest eye and find out what Henry saw. The customer is the one who's lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. It was a lovely spring morning, so Margaret decided to take her kids to the park for some fresh air. While the kids played in the grass, Margaret decided to catch up on her reading. She left her bag right beside her, next to a stranger. In a few minutes, she noticed the bag was stolen. We need your detective skills here. Can you figure out who the thief was? The person came out from the bush behind the bench where Margaret was seated. He was so quick it was nearly impossible to see him. Yikes! Robbie was invited to a typical college party. A lot of his friends were there, but there were also some random people. Out of nowhere, the lights went dark, and before he knew it, Robbie was waking up with a vampire bite on his neck. Take a look at some footage from the beginning of the party. Who's a vampire here? It's the guy on the corner. Look at the mirror. He has no reflection. He must be the vampire.
Get ready to decipher the enigma.
3 women gathered at a table in a popular cafe. Their appearances seemed to reveal their financial status. 2 of them looked wealthy, while 1 woman didn't seem to be as well off. Look at these ladies very attentively and write in the comments which of them is not actually rich. The answer might not be as obvious as it seems. The woman wearing pearls is not trying to show off her wealth. She's content with her simple, sustainable life. This suggests that she's truly rich. The second woman has extremely expensive accessories. She doesn't need a car, since she will be picked up by her driver and notified of their arrival through her Apple Watch. But the third woman is not actually rich. She doesn't have any valuable possessions, and that money falling out of her bag is actually fake. Look at these 2 couples lounging on the beach. There are designer bags by their side, and they're dressed in fancy swimsuits. At first glance, both couples appear to be well off, but only one of them possesses true richness. If you have already figured out which couple it is, share your ideas in the comments. The couple on the left have some fake items. If you look at them attentively, you'll notice that the logos are written incorrectly. They're also pale. Can it be because they have to work all the time and go on vacation just once a year? As for the couple on the right, their seemingly simpler yet well-maintained belongings suggest that they value quality over extravagance. And their worn luggage speaks of their many trips. Plus, they have tanned skin, which means that they can vacation much more often. A suspected criminal, Doug the Evil Man, had been bouncing around various places in the world. Interpol had been trailing him, expecting to catch him with large amounts of unaccountable cash. When they finally got their hands on the criminal, they only found sunglasses, a wallet containing about $50 American, credit cards, and some foreign loose change. They had nothing to do but let the guy go. In reality, though, Man managed to sneak a fortune right before the authorities' eyes. If you have any ideas about how he did it, share them in the comments. These foreign coins were actually extremely rare and incredibly expensive ancient coins. Detective Stanwyck came to Mr. Pennyroll's house to investigate a crime. Mr. Pennyroll claimed he had been kidnapped by bank robbers when he had arrived to open up the bank where he was the assistant manager. They made him open the safe and give them the money. They told the man to drive them to his house. They wanted to get his wife's jewelry too.
Oh my God!
While they were on the way, one of the criminals moved the money into a paper bag and threw the bank bag out of the window. When the car stopped at the red light 2 blocks later, the banker managed to escape. The detective decided to follow the route back to the bank to look for clues. At one point, Mr. Pennyroll shouted that he saw the empty bank bag, and a few minutes later, he pointed at the red light where he managed to escape. When they arrived at the bank, Detective Stanwyck arrested Mr. Pennyroll for a false report. Have you noticed a problem with the banker's story? Then tell us in the comments below. While heading back to the bank, they should not have reached the money bag before they reached the corner where Mr. Pennyroll jumped out of the car. He supposedly did that after the criminal had tossed the bag out. If this story was true, the detective and banker would have passed the corner first and the money bag next on the way back to the bank. Now, there's a truly mysterious case for you. Chelsea walked up to a parked taxi, handed the taxi driver a $20 note, and walked away. Here are the things you need to know. She's not very good with directions. $20 is too big of a tip for giving directions. The girl also has a car of her own, and it's not broken. Can you solve this mystery faster than the other Brightsiders? Leave your answer in the comments. Chelsea was lost and paid the taxi driver to take her to her destination. She followed him in her own car. Look at this picture very attentively. Can you spot a thief and explain your choice in the comments below the video? It's the woman in the brown coat with white lapels. She stands out among the crowd, as everyone else is either wearing sleeveless or short-sleeved outfits. Stephen called the police to report that his valuables were missing. When the police arrived, the man told them he had gone on a camping trip alone. He just got there and set up his tent when it started raining heavily. He hurried to get some dry firewood and left his bag with his wallet and all the documents inside the tent. When he came back, everything was gone. The police officers didn't believe Stephen and fined him for making a false call. Have you figured out how they understood that the man was lying? Tell us in the comments. Stephen said he had set up the tent before it started to rain. But then, why is there a big puddle inside? Tom vanished at around 10 p.m. on Friday in the fall. A police officer questioned his 4 friends. She suspected that one of them had something to do with the guy's disappearance. She asked each of them what they had been doing at that time. Adam said he had been choosing an outfit for a date. Daniel was getting ready for a party that was going to take place at his apartment. Sophia said she had been relaxing by doing yoga before her night shift at work. And Jake was watching birds in the park. After questioning the suspects, the police officer arrested one of Tom's friends. If you know who she detained, write it in the comments. It was Jake. At 10 p.m. in the fall, it's too dark to see birds outside. Police officer James was called into a small hotel to investigate a mysterious jewelry disappearance. Emily had checked in the night before and put all her expensive diamonds in her hotel room safe. After she came back from lunch the next day, the jewelry was gone. James had 3 suspects. The receptionist said she had been out on her lunch break. The maid said another guest had checked out earlier that day, and she had been cleaning their room. Susan, another hotel guest, said that she had just woken up. One of these people is lying. If you figure out who it is, write your guess in the comments as fast as possible. It's Susan. She said she had just woken up, but look at her bed. The maid had already made it. Joan came home one evening and discovered that someone had robbed her house. When the police arrived, they went to question the neighbors. Victoria said that she had been visiting her friend who lived 2 blocks away. She came home a couple of minutes ago. Peter said that he had been ill. He only made a short trip to the pharmacy and stayed in bed after that. Nathan said that he and his wife had been preparing for a barbecue party with their friends. But it started raining heavily, and they had to cancel their plans. Help the police and write the name of the thief in the comments below. It was Victoria. It was raining, and she said she had just come home. But look! Her hair, clothes, and the umbrella, which is standing near the door, are absolutely dry. Tyler was going to his friend's place in the evening when a stranger in a black mask captured him. The next thing the guy knew, he was in a large room, locked in a cage. There were 3 levers in the wall next to the cage. If he pulled the first lever, he would let hungry lions into the cage. The second lever would flood the cage with water. And the third lever would activate a special mechanism that would make the top of the cage move down towards the bottom, crushing everyone and everything inside. Which lever should Tyler pull to survive? Share your choice in the comments. His only choice is the second lever. All the water will flow out through the bars of the cage.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.